Alright, good morning, algebra class. Today we are going to look at how to factor quadratic trinomials in the form x squared plus bx plus c. Factoring is a huge part of math that you're going to take with you all the way to AP Calculus. I'm still learning how to factor really complex things, so it's good to start early and get a solid idea of what you're doing. So let's jump right into it. So right in Chapter 7, we learned how to multiply two binomials using the distributive property or the FOIL method. Today, basically, we're going to be doing the anti-FOIL method. So in this example, when you have a trinomial in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, what you're looking for is multiples of this constant term right here, right? So the constant term of the trinomial is the product of the constants in the binomials. So this term in the trinomial will always multiply, will equal both of these two constants in the binomials multiplied by each other. So this is the first step on learning how to factor. You use this term to find both of the terms in the parentheses. Look for the two numbers that are factors of the constant term of the trinomial. Write two binomials with those numbers and then multiply together to equal if you are correct. So again, FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. This is the book tells you to try a guess and check method. I would definitely not recommend using guess and check. It's not very effective, and when you get terms like 12 has a lot of different multiples, so you're going to be sitting there for quite a long time writing out all of the possibilities. So I would not recommend guess and check. It takes a long time. But as an example, right, we have this constant term on the end, and we're looking for terms that multiply together to equal 12. And 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are the correct ones. So to factor a quadratic trinomial in the form x squared plus bx plus c, find two factors of c whose sum is b. So this is really the next step. After you find your terms that multiply together to equal c, you're going to see which ones add up to equal 9x. If you see in this example, when they FOILed it, this multiplies together to equal 3x, and 4 times x is 4x, and 3x plus 4x is 7. So you're looking for terms that multiply together to equal 12, but also add together to equal 7, because these terms will add together to equal 7. All right, so let's jump into a couple of examples. Let's start with number 2, x squared plus 9x plus 8, right? We're looking at this constant term right here, and we're going to write down all of the factors that multiply together to equal 8. So off the top of my head, 2 and 4, 1 and 8. I think those are the only factors that multiply together to equal 8. The next step after we write those down is going to look for which terms add together to equal 9x. So 2 plus 4 equals 6. Not what we're looking for. 1 plus 8, however, equals 9. So that means, since there are only plus signs in this equation, there aren't any minus signs, what that tells me is that both of these parentheses are going to be x plus, since there are no negative signs. Alright, so 1 and 8 add together to equal 9, so I know that that term factors into x plus 1 times x plus 8. Alright, I'm going to do another example. Let's do number 6, right? First step, look at that term, write down all the factors of 18, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, right? Write down my x plus Alright, next step, we're going to look at these terms and see which ones add together to equal 9. Alright, looking at this, 3 and 6 add together to equal 9. So know that in the parentheses is going to be x plus 3 and x plus 6. Alright, moving on in the lecture. Right, when c is positive, its factors have the same sign. The sign of b tells you whether the factors are positive or negative, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. So if c is positive and b is negative, then we know that both terms in the parentheses are going to be negative instead of positive. An example here, we have 15 is positive, but since b is negative, both terms in the parentheses are going to be negative. It's the same process though, right? Write down your x pluses, and you're looking for factors of 15 that add together to equal negative 8. So, negative 1, negative 15, or negative 3 and negative 5 adds together to equal negative 8. So, negative 3, negative 5 are the correct terms. Again, check your answer. It's always helpful. Moving on, let's do some examples with a negative. Alright, let's start with number 7. 18 is positive, but b is negative. So we're going to write down factors of 18 that are negative. So negative 1 times negative 18, right? Negative 2 times negative 9 multiply together to equal 18, or negative 3 and negative 6. Write down my x plus. Just looking at this right away, I can see that negative 3 times negative 6 add together to equal negative 9. So I know in the parentheses it's going to be x plus negative 3 and x plus negative 6, which is the exact same thing as x minus 3 times x minus 6. Alright, let's do another example. We're going to do number 11. We're going to look at 18 again, but this time we're going to look at factors that add together to equal negative 11. Since it's negative, since b is negative, I know that both terms are going to be negative. Alright, multiply all of my terms that add together to equal negative 18. I got negative 18 times negative 1, negative 2 times negative 9, and negative 3 times negative 6. Negative 9 plus negative 2 equals negative 11. So I know that negative 9 and negative 2 are going to be going into my parentheses. So x minus 9 and x minus 2 are